What's up everyone and welcome back. So in a previous video, I showed you all how the Ace Pro 2 had a bug whenever you would set the max ISO and then power cycle the camera, that value would actually not stick. I reported that to Insta360 and they provided me with a support ticket where I communicated with them and they promised me that the next firmware update would address the issue. Well, a few weeks ago, they had a firmware update version 1.1.18, but the release notes didn't specify that the issue had been addressed. However, when I contacted Insta360, they assured me that the issue had been addressed. So in today's video, we're first gonna find out whether they quietly addressed that issue, as well as to explore the new portrait mode that this firmware adds, as well as to retest what max ISO setting we should choose when we're filming so that we can save the higher ISO ranges or the need for higher ISO range for pure video mode. So the idea is to find out at what point we're better off using pure video mode, rather than letting the ISO just crank up without all the AI enhanced noise reduction that pure video mode does so well. Before we get started, I just want to recommend that you view this on as high of a quality screen as you can, preferably a computer monitor or a high quality television, because if you're watching it on a cell phone, the small screen is going to become so compressed that you're not going to see any noise anyway. And with that, let's get into it. Okay, so let's step through this a bit and see what we've got. So we are currently in regular video mode and the ISO is set to auto. So let's step down until we can see it clearly drop the exposure. I think I saw it drop down at 800, yep. And then let's go all the way to 400 just so there's no question. So that's how we expect this to be exposed when we power cycle the unit. And let's see what we've got. Make sure my focus is correct. And yep, it appears that they have fixed the issue. So let's go back again to the ISO and raise this up. Yeah, you can clearly see that the max ISO setting is now sticking. So the other thing that I want to test is if the max ISO setting carries over to pure video mode. This was just a suggestion rather than a bug. How I want this to function is that I want to be able to set the max ISO and then immediately go over and say, oh, I'm underexposed. I can clearly see that. And then come over and engage pure video where it will use the entire ISO range. But what I found in the past, and it still appears to be the case, is that the max ISO settings carry over from regular video mode. See here, I don't even have the ability to adjust max ISO. So appears that they are carrying over. Insta360, if you're watching, that is just a feature request. I would like to see the max ISO settings not carry over, and for pure video just to be able to use the entire ISO range that the camera is allowed to use. So now let's get into testing portrait mode outside and let's find out what ISO max value works the best for us before we switch over into pure video mode. So we are in downtown Fayetteville and I'm getting ready to test out the max ISO setting just to see where we need to keep it at before we engage pure video mode. But first, I wanted to show you guys and to test out for myself how portrait mode looks. Now, portrait mode is not gonna be like what your cell phone's gonna do. It's not gonna blur out the background, but it is gonna prioritize for the face and for facial skin tones and potentially even brighten up the face. So I'm gonna engage that now and we're gonna see what the difference is with this. Regular mode, this is an EV0. Pretty much I've got everything on auto. I do have face priority on, but I don't have portrait mode on. So we're gonna engage that now. So this is how portrait mode would look with the EV at 0 It definitely has brightened up my face a bit, and the skin tones look a little bit less contrasty, which is really good on my skin tone since I have freckles. So that's what we're looking at right now. How does this compare to just regular priority? Good, how are you? Nice to meet you. How does this compare to just having face priority on? In the screen, it looks a lot less contrasty, so I believe it's gonna look better, but we'll see when we get this in post. So what I'm gonna do now is bring my EV down to a -0.3. So this is still portrait mode, and I've brought the EV down to a -0.3. How does this look? I think I could even bring it down further to a 0.7 as well. This is portrait mode with the EV at a -7. How does this look? Now, I've seen other videos with this and I didn't really like it because it seemed to be a bit overexposed. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is do a little bit more testing to see how good I can get it to look. So I think that probably a -0.3 with portrait mode is probably gonna be the best. So I'm gonna spin around so that I can put this light on my face. And it's probably gonna get too bright at that point. We've still got a little bit of light coming from across the buildings here, but I still think that that looks pretty good as far as exposure. We're gonna see how the vlogging stabilization. I am not gonna do a running test, but I am gonna do a little bit of a vlog test here with portrait mode on, just in case there's some caveats to it where it doesn't handle stabilization as well or something like that, but it seems like it's doing extremely well. This is also a really good test for the voice isolation. I'm hoping that I engage that mode as well, because there was a lot of traffic going on with that. So I just kept on rolling and tried to do my best not to get too distracted by everything else. On the screen, it looks really good in portrait mode. That's pretty cool back there. So let's do something right now. Let's switch it over to just face priority mode. This is in face priority mode. It is not in portrait mode anymore. I really like this. I need to come here next time and we'll start comparing things here with the market house in the background. That looks really cinematic there. So this would have been a much better place, but I thought it was going to be much more busy here, but I guess I was wrong. And I could even put this thing in front of that little pot right here, back there, because what I can do is it won't be in anyone's way as far as walking goes. So let's do a little bit more walking here, just so you all can see what the regular face priority mode looks like on this particular camera. And I've got the ISO max set to max of 1600, but we're gonna see. This is pretty low light here. I'm going through with the building blocking the sun, so it's gonna get pretty dark here. And yeah, I've got the EV set to -3, which is what I typically use in a low light situation, but I use a -0.7 when I'm in a extremely well lit situation or overly lit situation. I went into Vibe Gastropub, which is a local vegan restaurant here, and I actually bought a glass of, we didn't have Chardonnay, this is Sauvignon Blanc, which actually it's really good. What I decided to do is, it is not quite blue hour technically yet, but there's no sun because the buildings are blocking all the sun. I'm still in regular mode. This is just face priority mode. And I actually took the ISO max down to 800, and I'm still getting, for what appears to be plenty of light here with ISO 800. So what I'm gonna do is, in this lighting situation, let's go back to portrait mode and see what that looks like. See if I still have enough light for portrait mode to look good. This is portrait mode in the same lighting situation. There's actually a car that's shining its headlights into me, and I noticed it within the frame here. Let's wait until it passes. So that's gone, and I've got the ISO max at 800. So how does this look in comparison to just the face priority mode that I had on previously. It looks like we are getting to the point where portrait mode may not have enough light, but we'll see in post. Again, max ISO is at 800, so if the ISO is only at 800, I shouldn't be getting significant amount of noise, but we'll see. Okay, and just like that, now we have the street lights on. So I'm still in portrait mode, and I'm thinking this is gonna look pretty good for this particular camera. And just for this last kind of right before blue hour test with the street lights on, I switched off portrait mode, just standard face priority mode, -0.3 EV, and max ISO is set to 800. So how does this look? Okay, so it is finally nighttime, and yes, the street lights are on, but this is what it looks like. This is a good test of the voice enhancement, or the voice isolation mode. It's got big motorcycles out here trying to make as much noise as possible. But yeah, this is max ISO of 800, and the EV is at -0.3, and of course portrait mode is off. Again, max ISO currently is at 800. We're going to turn that down to 400 and see what that looks like. This is at max ISO of 400, and this is how this looks like. It looks like it may be slightly underexposed on my face, so we're going to bring that up to 800 again. So 800 does definitely look quite a bit better, but let's jump up to 1600 just to see what that looks like, and also the amount of noise, if it does bring up this exposure even more. So this is with max ISO set to 1600. I don't know if I'm getting any more light into this, but this is just a test. We'll probably go over there and just to see if we can bring the lighting down so far that we can start seeing a difference between 800 and 1600 ISO. This is max ISO of 800, and we've got a street light right there, so I'm pretty well lit at this point. We're gonna go into situation like right here. Definitely I start seeing myself being underexposed. This is max ISO of 800, and I'm still gonna be underexposed, but we've got a little more low light situation just so we can see the noise value. So this is about as dark as it gets. Ooh, let me go over here. I don't want any light on my face whatsoever. Okay, so definitely underexposed here. Face priority is on because I just like it in general. And let's see if we can bump this up to 3200. Max ISO is now at 3200. Can we see any noise in the picture? I think I'm gonna try to find some even lower light situations, and we're gonna go even further than this. This is at max ISO of 3200. Let's just bump it up fully to max ISO, just give it the full range. Okay, we're totally giving this the full range of the ISO value. So try to get myself underexposed as possible, and also to potentially look at the amount of noise that we're getting out of the full range of the ISO. Now let's bump this down to a couple steps and see where I'm starting to get even more or less exposed than this. When I went down to 1600, it lessened the exposure slightly, but when I went down to 800, it lessened the exposure significantly to what it is now. So this is ISO of 800. I think that it's going to be either 800 or 1600, and we'll have to look at this in post. to see what that is. But at this point, what I'm gonna do is allow the full ISO range and then engage Pure Video to see what that looks like. All right, so as you can see, Pure Video does a significantly better job at exposing in this situation. It's not perfect, but yeah, this is Pure Video with the full ISO range in this just dimly lit environment. I would only film in this if I absolutely had to. So yeah, let's do a little bit of a walking with Pure Video on. Again, we already know that this is an excellent low light mode, and it's pretty much superior to any other action camera's ability to shoot in low light. And as you can see, if I get even a little more light, it's almost like it has too much light to deal with Pure Video. So in this situation right here, I might then go back to the ISO of 800. Let's try that. Okay, so we went back to regular video mode, and as you can see, I am properly exposed, or what seems to be. This is ISO max of 1600. Take a look at the noise to see if how the noise is being dealt with ISO max of 1600, and now I'm going to bring that down to 800. This is ISO max of 800. I'm going to assume, based on what I'm seeing in the screen, that this is probably going to be your or our best max ISO setting before we need to engage Pure Video. So for example, I'm going to just turn around, the lights aren't going to get my face, and I'm going to be underexposed. I'm at ISO 800, and thank you, car lights. Come on now, light me up. Give me some portraiture here. You can do it. So obviously, right here, what I would do, I'm at max ISO 800. What I would generally do is set this max ISO at 800, and then I go, oh look, I am underexposed. I need to engage Pure Video mode, and boom, here you got Pure Video mode. Should be exposed quite better. The noise should be controlled with the AI noise correction. And here you go. So anyway, guys, let's head back to the studio and take a look at what we've got. So what did you all think? Is portrait mode something that you personally would use? And what max ISO setting do you think would be the best to set before switching to Pure Video? So personally, I'm not really a big fan of portrait mode, especially for my skin tones. In addition, it did seem to get more jitters when vlogging with it as compared to just regular video mode with face exposure priority on. I also thought that ISO 800 seemed to be a really safe value to choose to avoid excessive noise and not risk being underexposed before switching to Pure Video mode. Although I do think you could set it as low as 400 as long as you know you're gonna have enough light to handle that. So I know this firmware addressed some other issues that I didn't go to in this video, so I'm gonna put a link to the firmware as well as the release notes, and we can have a discussion about those if you'd like down in the comments. Just don't forget to hit that like button on your way out, and if you enjoy videos about action cams, I've got a playlist you can click on to see more. Anyway, hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one.